What if I told you that every time you give in to lust, you're not just making a momentary choice, you're silently trading away pieces of your soul, that fleeting rush, that spark of desire. It may feel harmless, even exciting, but underneath it plants seeds that grow into change you can't see until it's too late. Lust is more than physical hunger. It's a force that clouds your judgment, blurs your values, and turns your spiritual compass upside down. You start chasing the next high, the next image, the next fantasy. Without realizing you're drifting further from the person you were meant to be. And here's the dangerous part. Lust doesn't just drain your energy. It reshapes your very identity. It feeds on your focus, your discipline, and your connection to something higher, leaving you feeling emptier than before. Think about it. How many dreams have been abandoned because someone got trapped in cycles of desire they couldn't control? How many moments of true peace have been stolen by an impulse that fades in seconds? Lust is never satisfied. It always comes back, louder, stronger, demanding more. And each time you give in, the grip tightens. But here's the truth that most people never hear. You can break this chain. There is a way to reclaim the control, the clarity, and the spiritual power that lust has been stealing from you. And it's not about repression. It's about transformation. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to cut off lust at its root, how to redirect that energy into something far greater, and how to step back into a life where your mind is sharp, your soul is light, and your spirit is unshakable. The path is here. You just have to walk it. Desire in its purest form isn't the enemy. The problem begins when that desire becomes distorted, when it stops serving your growth and starts controlling you. Lust is not simply about attraction. It's a craving that pulls you out of alignment with your higher self. It promises satisfaction but delivers emptiness, leaving you restless and disconnected from the deeper meaning of your existence. From a spiritual lens, this is more than a moral issue. It's an energetic one. Every thought, every emotion carries a vibration. Lust operates on one of the lower frequencies, pulling your consciousness downward. The more you feed it, the more it consumes your inner strength, making it harder to connect to higher states of awareness, like compassion, wisdom, and inner peace. Think of your spiritual energy like a flame. When you channel it toward your purpose, your relationships, and your personal growth, the flame grows brighter. But when lust dominates your mind, that same flame gets scattered, flickering weakly in all directions, with no warmth or light left for the things that truly matter. This is why people often feel drained after indulging in it. Not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. Ancient wisdom across cultures warns about this exact trap. It's not because desire itself is evil, but because unchecked desire blinds us. It makes us see people as objects, not souls. It trains the mind to chase temporary pleasure instead of lasting fulfillment. Slowly it conditions you to believe that happiness is always out there instead of something you can cultivate within. But awareness changes everything. When you begin to notice how lust hijacks your focus and weakens your self-mastery, you also begin to see the incredible power that comes from resisting it. This isn't about denial, it's about elevation. It's about using that intense energy as fuel for creativity, discipline, and spiritual awakening. The truth is, the same force that can enslave you can also set you free, if you learn to redirect it. And once you do, you'll discover a deeper, richer form of connection and purpose that no momentary indulgence could ever match. Imagine trying to climb a mountain while carrying a bag of rocks you didn't even know you had. Every step feels heavier, every breath harder, and yet you wonder why progress is so slow. That's exactly what happens when desire takes control. It weighs you down in ways you can't see, slowly pulling your focus away from the summit you were meant to reach. The higher calling in your life, whether it's fulfilling your potential, serving others, or deepening your spiritual connection, requires clarity, discipline, and unwavering focus. But lust thrives on distraction. It scatters your attention, keeping you caught in loops of fantasy and impulse. Instead of moving toward your vision, you find yourself trapped in cycles that lead nowhere, burning time and energy on fleeting sensations. Every moment spent feeding lust is a moment stolen from your growth. That book you were going to write, the business you were going to build, the skills you wanted to master, they all get pushed aside. You tell yourself you'll get back on track tomorrow, but tomorrow comes and the same craving pulls you away again. The cost isn't just lost time, it's lost potential. What makes this trap even more dangerous is how subtly it operates. Lust often disguises itself as harmless entertainment or a simple indulgence, but over time it conditions your mind to prioritize instant gratification over long-term fulfillment. It teaches you to chase short bursts of pleasure instead of cultivating lasting joy and purpose. And here's the part few talk about, the mental fog that follows. Once your mind is conditioned to give in easily, it becomes harder to focus deeply on anything. Your creative flow is interrupted, your motivation fades, and your sense of direction weakens. It's like trying to steer a ship while the currents keep pulling you off course. The truth is, every great achievement, whether spiritual, personal, or professional, requires the ability to say no to distractions that promise much, but deliver little. Lust is one of the most persuasive of those distractions, because it offers instant reward without revealing the long-term cost. But once you see it for what it is, you can reclaim your energy and channel it towards something higher, something that will still matter years from now, not just in the next 5 minutes. It's hard to feel truly at peace when your mind is constantly battling itself. One part of you wants calm, focus, and purpose, while the other part keeps chasing the next thrill. That silent tug of war is what robs you of inner stability, leaving you restless even in moments that should feel serene. When desire takes over, it doesn't just occupy your thoughts, it rewires them. The mind begins to form habits around seeking stimulation, making it harder to sit still, concentrate, or enjoy the present moment. Meditation feels impossible. Deep work becomes a struggle, and even simple pleasures lose their depth because your attention is always being pulled elsewhere. Over time, this creates mental noise, the constant background hum of urges, fantasies, and what-if scenarios that drain your focus. It's like trying to read a book while someone keeps whispering in your ear. No matter how disciplined you are in other areas of life, if your mental space is crowded with uninvited thoughts, your clarity suffers. The cost isn't just mental, it's emotional too. Lust often leaves behind a subtle emptiness or guilt, which can spiral into self-criticism. This emotional turbulence disrupts your inner balance, making it harder to trust yourself or feel aligned with your values. And when you don't trust yourself, your confidence in making decisions, big or small, starts to fade. There's also a deeper spiritual toll. True peace comes from alignment. When your actions, thoughts, and values move in the same direction, lust pulls them apart. You might believe in discipline but act impulsively, value connection but treat others as objects, desire growth but waste energy on what doesn't serve you. This inner conflict chips away at your sense of harmony, creating a constant undercurrent of unease. The good news: the same energy that fuels restless desire can be transmuted into something far more powerful. When you stop feeding every impulse, the mental fog begins to lift. Silence feels more comfortable, focus sharpens, and you rediscover a calm that isn't easily shaken by external temptation. Clarity and peace aren't built by avoiding challenges, they're built by mastering them. And the moment you stop letting lust dictate your mental and emotional state, you open the door to a level of stillness and sharpness that most people never get to experience. You can't climb toward the light while something keeps pulling you into the shadows. Spiritual growth is a journey of rising above the lower pulls of human nature, of refining the mind and purifying the heart. But when desire takes the driver's seat, it becomes a chain around your ankles, holding you back from ascending to higher states of awareness. On a deeper level, this isn't about good or bad behavior. It's about where your energy is going. Spiritual growth demands that your life force is directed towards self-awareness, compassion, and connection to the divine. Lust diverts that energy, scattering it into temporary pleasures that offer no lasting nourishment for the soul. It's like pouring water into sand. No matter how much you give, nothing truly grows. One of the biggest dangers is how subtly it erodes your commitment to spiritual discipline. Practices like meditation, prayer, or self-reflection require a steady, focused mind. But when you give in to desire repeatedly, the mind becomes restless, always craving stimulation, always searching outward instead of looking inward. In that state, stillness feels uncomfortable, and silence becomes unbearable. Two qualities essential for deep spiritual progress. There's also a distortion of perception. Lust trains you to see people and situations through the lens of gratification, rather than truth. You stop seeing souls and start seeing opportunities for pleasure. This shift may seem small, but spiritually it's a major barrier. It keeps you rooted in ego-centered living, rather than soul-centered living. Many ancient teachings, from Eastern philosophies to mystical traditions, emphasize self-mastery as the key to spiritual awakening. This isn't about suppression, it's about transformation. The raw force of desire, when redirected, becomes an incredible source of vitality and creativity. Monks, sages, and seekers throughout history have harnessed this same energy to fuel acts of service, deep states of meditation, and extraordinary insight. The turning point comes when you realize that the pull you feel isn't a curse, it's raw power waiting to be channeled. By learning to master it instead of being mastered by it, you step onto a higher path where growth isn't stalled by indulgence, but accelerated by discipline. And in that place, spiritual elevation stops being an uphill battle and starts becoming a natural state of being. The quickest way to lose command over your life is to surrender to impulses you can't control. Self-control and discipline are like muscles. They grow stronger the more you use them, but weaken rapidly when neglected. When desire takes over, it trains your brain to expect instant gratification, eroding the very qualities that keep your life on track. Think about it. Every time you give in without resistance, you're sending yourself a silent message. I can't wait. I need it now. Over time, this becomes your default programming, spilling into other areas of life. Suddenly, sticking to a workout routine feels impossible. Waking up early becomes a battle, and following through on long-term goals feels like climbing a mountain. The discipline you once had starts to fade, replaced by a pattern of giving in whenever things get difficult. The danger is in the ripple effect. Once you lose control in one area, the mind starts to normalize that behavior everywhere. That small indulgence you justify today makes it easier to break a promise to yourself tomorrow. Before you know it, the foundation of trust between you and your own willpower begins to crumble. And without that trust, achieving anything meaningful becomes far harder. On a deeper level, this loss of discipline isn't just about failed routines. It's about identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who follows through, who stands strong in the face of temptation. The self-image shifts subtly, but profoundly, making you more likely to repeat the same pattern. What makes this cycle particularly destructive is that it's fueled by short-term thinking. Desire only cares about the next few minutes, while discipline cares about the next few years. When the short-term wins, the long-term always suffers. But here's the empowering truth. Self-control, once lost, can be rebuilt. Every moment of resistance is like a rep in the mental gym, strengthening your ability to delay gratification and make choices aligned with your highest value. And when you win those small battles consistently, something remarkable happens. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of impulse and start identifying as someone who can master it. In that shift, discipline stops feeling like restriction and starts feeling like freedom, the kind of freedom that puts you back in full control of your life's direction. If you've been feeling trapped in the cycle of lust, fighting it one moment, only to fall back the next, you're not alone. But here's the truth. You don't have to live this way. You can break free, not just for a few days, but for good. That's exactly why I put together my ebook, 7 Biblical Secrets to Destroy Lust, a practical faith-based guide that gives you the exact tools, strategies, and spiritual principles to reclaim your mind, purify your heart, and take back control of your life. Inside, you'll discover powerful, timeless truths rooted in Scripture, truths that have helped countless people overcome temptation and walk in freedom. These aren't vague ideas or recycled advice. They're actionable steps you can start applying today to shift your mindset, strengthen your self-control, and realign your life with God's purpose for you. If you're serious about ending the grip of lust and stepping into a life of clarity, peace, and spiritual strength, then this is your next step. Don't let another day slip by in the same struggle. Click the link in the video description or the pinned comment now and start your journey to lasting freedom today. You've felt it before, that strange exhaustion that creeps in after giving in to an intense craving. Your body might recover quickly, but your mind and spirit feel heavier, slower, less alive. That's because desire doesn't just take your focus, it takes your energy, and not in a small way. On an energetic level, every thought, action, and emotion either raises or lowers your vibration. When you engage in something that aligns with your higher purpose, acts of kindness, creativity, learning, you feel lighter, more expansive, and deeply connected to life. But when you indulge in lust, you're pulling your vibration downward into denser, more draining frequencies. It's like trading sunlight for a dim, flickering bulb. This drop in vibration doesn't just affect how you feel in the moment. It shapes the quality of your thoughts and decisions afterward. Low vibrational states make you more likely to feel anxious, unmotivated, or even apathetic toward the things that truly matter. And because like attracts like, you start drawing in more situations and people that match that lowered energy, creating a loop that's hard to escape. There's also the issue of energy leakage. Your life force is meant to be conserved and directed toward growth, creation and connection. Lust scatters it in moments that give nothing lasting in return. Think of it as pouring water into a cracked vessel. No matter how much you fill it, you're left empty before long. Over time, this drain begins to dull your sensitivity to higher states of awareness. Meditation feels shallow, creativity feels blocked, and spiritual practices feel like chores, instead of gateways to connection. The spark you once had dims, not because it's gone, but because it's being bled away little by little. The most profound shift happens when you start protecting your energy like it's your most valuable currency. Because it is. By saying no to impulses that lower your vibration, you naturally begin to rise into states of clarity, joy, and purpose. And from there everything changes. You attract better opportunities, deeper relationships, and a sense of aliveness that no fleeting indulgence can match. When you hold on to your energy, you're not just preserving yourself, you're amplifying your spiritual power. And in that higher state, life stops feeling like something you're chasing and starts feeling like something that flows effortlessly through you. Every action you take leaves a trace, not just in your memory, but in the subtle fabric of your life. This is the essence of karma, the energetic imprint of your choices that shapes the experiences you attract in the future. When desire becomes the driving force, the traces it leaves behind often lead to lessons that are far from pleasant. Indulging in lust may seem like an isolated moment, but karmically it's more like planting seeds. Those seeds grow into circumstances, relationships, and even challenges that mirror the energy you put out. If your actions are rooted in selfish gratification, you're likely to draw situations where others treat you as an object, use you for their gain, or bring instability into your life. It's not punishment, it's the law of resonance in action. There's also the karmic debt that builds when your actions cause harm, even unintentionally. Lust can blur empathy, making it easier to cross boundaries or neglect the emotional well-being of others. This lack of alignment with compassion creates a ripple effect, and eventually, life sends you experiences designed to teach the empathy you overlooked. These lessons can be subtle or dramatic, but they always circle back. On a deeper level, repeated indulgence in lust keeps you entangled in the same karmic cycle. Instead of moving forward spiritually, you keep looping through similar patterns, relationships that start passionately but end painfully, moments of pleasure followed by regret, opportunities for growth derailed by old habits. Each repetition is life's way of saying, you haven't learned this yet. The beauty of karma, though, is that it's never fixed. Every moment offers a chance to shift the energy you're putting out. Choosing self-control, respect, and alignment with your higher values plants an entirely different kind of seed, one that grows into stability, deeper connections, and experiences that uplift rather than drain. The real power lies in becoming conscious of the energetic signature behind your actions. When you act from awareness rather than impulse, you start generating karma that supports your growth instead of hindering it. And over time, the cycles that once trapped you lose their grip, making room for a life shaped by wisdom, clarity, and spiritual freedom. What begins as attraction can quickly turn into illusion when desire takes control. The lens through which you see another person becomes clouded, not by who they are, but by what they can provide for your gratification. In this state, connection is no longer about mutual growth or understanding. It's about fulfilling a craving, and that shift changes everything. When lust dominates, it often mistakes chemistry for compatibility. You might feel a powerful pull towards someone and interpret it as love, when in reality it's simply physical desire dressed up as something deep. This creates relationships that burn hot at the start but fade quickly, leaving behind disappointment and confusion. Real love grows through patience, respect, and shared values, qualities that can't survive when the foundation is built solely on impulse. Another distortion lies in how you value the other person. Instead of seeing them as a whole being with dreams, struggles, and depth, you begin to see them as a means to satisfy as a need. This objectification, even when subtle, erodes trust and intimacy over time. People can sense when they're being valued for their essence versus their utility, and relationships rooted in the latter rarely stand the test of time. Lust can also breed possessiveness and jealousy. When the connection is primarily physical, the fear of losing that source of pleasure can become overwhelming. This leads to controlling behavior, insecurity, and unnecessary conflict, all of which push the relationship further from genuine love and toward a toxic dynamic. Perhaps the most damaging effect is how lust limits emotional depth. True love requires vulnerability, the willingness to open your heart and share your innermost self. But lust thrives in the surface layer, avoiding emotional exposure in favor of instant gratification. Without that deeper exchange, relationships remain shallow, unable to weather life's inevitable challenges. The turning point comes when you shift your focus from taking to giving, from seeking pleasure to seeking connection. When you approach relationships with genuine curiosity, empathy, and respect, you create space for love to grow naturally. Desire still has its place, but it becomes an expression of deeper connection, not the foundation of it. In that balance, relationships stop being fleeting escapes and start becoming safe havens, places where both people are seen, valued, and loved for far more than what they can provide in a moment of passion. It's impossible to change what you refuse to see. Many people caught in destructive patterns convince themselves they're in control, even as the cycle repeats. The first step toward breaking free is brutally honest self-awareness. The willingness to look at your thoughts, triggers, and choices without excuses or denial. Self-awareness isn't about shame, it's about clarity. When you can recognize the exact moments you're most vulnerable, you gain the power to intercept the impulse before it takes over. This means noticing not just the obvious temptations, but also the subtle shifts in your mood, environment, or stress levels that make you more susceptible. Patterns reveal themselves when you pay attention, and patterns are easier to break when they're visible. Mindfulness takes this a step further by anchoring you in the present moment. Temptation feeds on autopilot thinking, those unconscious reactions that happen before you've had time to process them. But when you're mindful, you create space between stimulus and response. You can observe the craving as it rises, understand it for what it is, and choose differently instead of being swept away by it. Developing mindfulness doesn't require hours of meditation. It can be as simple as slowing your breathing, grounding yourself in your senses, or asking, what am I really seeking right now? These small pauses shift the brain from reactive mode to reflective mode, giving you the chance to respond with intention. Over time, self-awareness and mindfulness work together to dismantle the old cycle. You begin to recognize the lies lust tells you, that it will satisfy, that it's harmless, that you can stop any time. You see through them because you've trained yourself to step back, to question, to choose. The real breakthrough comes when these skills become second nature. The moments that once pulled you under become opportunities to practice strength, and each time you resist, you reinforce the belief that you're not powerless, you're in control. This is how the cycle breaks, not through sheer willpower alone, but through consistent awareness and presence. Once you master these, you don't just avoid temptation, you rise above it, walking with a level of clarity and peace that makes the old patterns feel like a distant memory. When the mind feels restless and the heart feels weak, the quickest way to regain strength is to reconnect with something higher than yourself. Spiritual practices aren't just rituals, they are powerful tools that realign your thoughts, cleanse your emotions, and fortify your will against destructive desires. One of the most effective is deep intentional prayer, not the rushed kind you whisper out of habit, but the kind where you pour out your struggles honestly before God. When you invite divine help into the places you feel most vulnerable, you're no longer fighting with just human strength. You're drawing from an infinite source of power and wisdom. Scripture meditation is another practice that transforms your inner world. Instead of letting your mind wander toward temptation, you anchor it in truth, repeating and reflecting on verses about purity, self-control, and God's promises, reprograms your thought patterns over time. The more your mind is saturated with truth, the less room there is for lies to take root. Fasting can also be a profound discipline in this battle. It teaches the body that it doesn't control you. You control. By denying yourself something as basic as food for a set time, you train your spirit to say no when unhealthy desires arise. The physical discipline spills over into mental and emotional resilience. Worship is often underestimated as a weapon against lust. Singing, praising, and focusing on God's greatness shifts your attention away from self-indulgence and fills your heart with joy that no momentary pleasure can match. It's hard to dwell on temptation when your soul is lifted in genuine gratitude and awe. Finally, accountability within a spiritual community can make all the difference. When you surround yourself with people who are committed to walking in integrity, you gain both encouragement and healthy pressure to stay on track. Being able to confess struggles without judgment and receive wise counsel keeps you grounded and supported. These practices are not quick fixes, they're habits that reshape you from the inside out. The more consistently you engage in them, the stronger your spiritual defenses become. Over time, you find that what once felt impossible to resist no longer holds the same power, and you walk with a confidence rooted in something eternal. Freedom doesn't come from avoiding temptation for a day. It comes from transforming the way you think, feel, and live. Lust is not just a fleeting weakness. It's a thief that quietly robs you of clarity, purpose, relationships, and spiritual strength. If left unchecked, it will keep you trapped in a cycle of craving and regret. But when you understand what's really at stake, your peace, your destiny, your connection with God, you stop seeing this as a small issue and start treating it as the battle it truly is. Every choice you make either strengthens your spirit or weakens it. The fight isn't about perfection, it's about direction. Each time you say no to lust, you're saying yes to a higher version of yourself, the one who is disciplined, free, and fully aligned with God's plan. You have the power to break the chains, but you don't have to do it alone. There are principles rooted in Scripture that have helped countless people win this fight permanently. That's why 7 biblical secrets to destroy lust before it destroys you. A step-by-step guide to equip you with the exact spiritual tools, mindset shifts, and action plans you need to not only resist temptation, but to eliminate its hold on your life. This is more than just information, it's a battle plan. And if you've been waiting for the right time to turn the tide, that time is now. Don't settle for temporary fixes or half-hearted attempts. Take a decisive step toward lasting freedom. Click the link in the video description. Grab your copy of 7 Biblical Secrets to Destroy Lust Before It Destroys You, and start applying these life-changing truths today. Your future self will thank you, and your spiritual life will never be the same.